Hello, my name is Mark Taylor. Welcome to this bonus episode of the Education on Fire podcast. Back in 2019 into the early part of 2020, we also produced a show called Learning on Fire. And the aim of this was to interview guests from around the world who were basically living life on their terms. And we wanted to sort of deep dive into why it was that they felt they'd achieved this. And we reversed engineered it back into their educational experience, the kind of advice they were given and the people that gave it to them, and the sorts of wisdom and advice they'd like to share with you and also maybe their children to make sure that this was passed down from generation to generation. Now, we've started to incorporate this kind of conversation within Education on Fire as well, but I wanted to make sure that you had access to all of this fantastic information right here as part of Education on Fire. And that's why we decided to release these bonus episodes for you in addition to the shows that we were already producing. So this is a previously released Learning on Fire podcast, which I really hope you enjoy. There comes a time in every person's life when you realise it's not about doing what you are told, but doing what you know is right for you. Let us take a journey of learning and discovery with the world's most successful people who are living the life of their dreams, walking through life using their inner wisdom and being of service to others. Forget exams, grades and test scores. What is your purpose? As we let go of what we think should be and learn from our elders to gain knowledge, inspiration and a true sense of who we are. What are your dreams? Does your life have meaning? Are you living a life of significance? Let's talk with today's guest. Hello, my name is Mark Taylor. Welcome back to the Learning on Fire podcast. Today, this is the third and final part of this short mini-series where we hear my guest's answers to the question, what was the best piece of advice you've ever been given and who gave it to you? And I hope you've enjoyed these 3 episodes just so you can hear back to back what some of these great insightful answers have been and how they might influence your life. I also wanted to take the time today to thank our sponsor, which is the National Association for Primary Education. They're sponsoring the entire podcast network, and for those of you that are new to the show or new to the network, let me just very briefly explain exactly what Education on Fire is and how the Learning on Fire podcast fits in. The Education on Fire podcast network has 3 shows. It started with Education on Fire, where I share creative and inspiring learning in our schools, which is done in themed seasons, and we've covered all manner of things from computing to PE to music. And out of that music season, which was so popular, myself being a professional musician and educator, we have during this last few weeks, during this term since Christmas, set up Primary Music on Fire, which is a music membership site for teachers who are wanting to put and embed music in their school but not quite sure how to go. We're literally giving that initial starting point. How do you start to do some rhythm? How do you start to do some singing? Maybe the beginner ukulele, recorder, samba, all manner of things within this membership site, and then explaining how that can be progressed through the school and really revitalise the school really as music is an embedded and central part. As well as that podcast and that music membership site, we of course have the Learning on Fire podcast that you've been listening to, where we're sharing all this amazing content from guests who are living life on their terms so that you can personally take responsibility about how you want to live your life and be very intentional about the direction it goes and take personal responsibility for making the most of your life and living it in the way that you'd like to be able to do it. And the third podcast within the network is one for our sponsor, the National Association for Primary Education. They are basically looking after and supporting children from birth to 13 and all people that are involved in that. So you may be a parent, you may be a teacher, you may be someone working within education. If you're involved with children in that age group, they are there to support you. You can be a member of their organisation, and they do all manner of things that I can't possibly do on my own, which is why I'm so thrilled they're involved. They're part of the all-parliamentary group which talks to ministers and gives as much influence as any organisation can in terms of the sorts of things which we believe are really important for child development, talking against some of this massive amount of testing that's going on, having a wide curriculum, actually being able to give the child's perspective and the teacher's perspective in a way that will just encourage everybody to be positive, proactive, and have a child-centered vision of learning. And so I'm really grateful for them to be giving me the opportunity to support them in what they're doing, and also for them to enable me to grow this network to support in so many of these ways, that high-level way that NAPE can do, and the influence we can have over schools through the Education on Fire podcast, and our personal thing that we can do within Learning on Fire. So that's just a little brief idea in case you haven't come across the entire network before. And as I said, this is our third and final little episode answering the questions of what was the best advice you've ever been given and who gave it to you. After today's episode, we're going to take a very short holiday of just 2 weeks. It's the Easter time here, and myself and my family have a holiday to do and to spend some time, and it's been an absolutely fantastic few weeks and few months, but we've been working either ends of the day. I personally have been doing performances in the evening. I've been doing my teaching during the day. I've been doing all this podcasting and membership creation around the same time. So it's time for me to take some of my advice and actually just take a week or two to step back and recuperate so that we're ready to crack on again in a couple of weeks' time. So to make sure that you have everything you need so you don't miss anything, please subscribe to this podcast, whichever program you use. Subscribe so that you get all the latest content coming through to you. And the other thing you can do is subscribe to the Education on Fire newsletter. There I give information of all the content that I release for the entire network, so you don't miss anything and you're fully aware of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how we're supporting you to live the best life that you want to live. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope that you enjoy this episode of our final guests answering the question, what was the best piece of advice you've ever been given, and who gave it to you? What was the best piece of advice you've ever been given, and who gave it to you?
Ooh, there's been a couple pieces. Do you mind if I give like two?
No, please do. Whatever you think is going to give us some value, that would be fantastic.
Cool. So I am going to go a little bit more abstract here and say that none of these pieces were given directly to me. They were things that I've learned from, for instance, like an online mentor or something that I may have read in a book. And so the first one would be that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I think that was Jim Rohn that said that, but it goes around pretty frequently in the entrepreneurial space and the self-development space. But the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, it's just so true. And what it's done is allowed me to think bigger and really actually focus with more intention to build my network and figure out how can I get around people that are either making more money or people that are living a healthier lifestyle or people that are better communicators, people that actually have goals and really want to take their life somewhere. And maybe actually instead of just having the people with ambition around you, how can you surround yourself with the people that have already done what you're wanting to do? Understanding that and thinking about networking as in, hey, how can these people affect my life, as in like, hey, if I spend too much time with them, are they going to affect me positively or negatively? Are they going to help me achieve my goals or take me away from my goals? Looking at it in a really black and white context like that has really changed the way I network, and I'd say that that's been huge for me. The other one, I have no idea who said this, but it was the more you learn, the more you earn. I've always just thought that, and growing up, that hey, you can earn only as much as you work. So if you want to make $20, you have to go work 1 hour, and then if you want to work 5 hours, or if you want to make $500, then you have to work X amount of hours. And so I always thought that your ability to make money was tied to how much time that you put into something. And understanding now that that's not necessarily true, and that you can actually the real way to actually become more wealthy is to get paid off of results or to get paid off of what you know. For instance, I think you were telling me that you had a music membership site that was coming out. That's something that you're going to put a lot of time into from the beginning, and you're not going to have to spend a ton of time in the long run. Or maybe consulting. I could get paid $250 in 1 hour for meeting with a business owner to give them some marketing strategies, and that's exactly what a lawyer would get paid. And they have to spend 8 years just in school to even get to that point. I'm 24 and I can do that. And so just understanding that truly the more research you put into your craft, or the more you go and learn about a certain subject or a certain passion, you can really become super, super valuable for other people that want to obtain that same level of knowledge. And then you can sell your knowledge. And that's an awesome thing to do.
There's when you grow up, people always say things to you, whether they're, negative, like a bully, those things stand out. those can motivate you as well. But some of the positive things, I mean, and they come from all different kinds of random places. But one time in Ann Arbor, Michigan, at night, I think after a party or something, or late at night when we were getting like subs or pizza, this homeless guy near a payphone. I don't know why. It's kind of random, but he noticed that I was acting kind of cocky or something, kind of like, brash or puffing my chest out about, being loud, or I don't know what it was, but I rubbed him the wrong way. And he came up to me and he basically, he looked at me square in the eye and he goes, "Look, man, stay small, but grow big inside." And I instantly knew what he was talking about. He was like, don't act bigger than who you are on the outside. You're not impressing me. Work on yourself from the inside. And I don't know. Ever since he said that to me, I wrote it down. And even when I showed it to my friends, they were like, "That doesn't even make sense. This guy, what was he talking about?" But it made sense to me. So I try to make a goal of just always improving myself and not really bragging. Uh, and just like that homeless guy suggested, and stay humble. Stay humble. Just let actions do the talking. I run my business that way. I don't do these flashy advertisements. I don't offer quick SAT score improvements, guarantees or anything like that. I just focus on just hiring great tutors and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I was thinking about that a little earlier. So I'd say there's two pieces of advice. One is a little smaller, and it's something that my dad said to me about a year ago, but for some reason it just stuck. And I think about it every day. And I was just deciding whether I had some work to do, and it was about 9:30 at night, and I was talking with him on the phone, and I also had tickets to go to a comedy show, and I was saying I think I'm just gonna not go to the comedy show and do some work. And he was like, "Nick, just trust me. It's always better to do stuff than to not do stuff." And I don't think he meant it in any super profound way, but I've kind of carried that with me for the past year and a half. And I noticed in myself that there's always that draw to comfort. And, there's always the idea when an opportunity presents itself, you also have the flash to kind of just sitting at home, taking a shower, watching some TV and hanging out. But that's no way to live. You need to open yourself up. If opportunity presents itself, you need to capitalize, and you can't let comfort is the enemy. So you can't let the idea, a vision of sitting home feeling comfortable be the thing that guides your actions. You need to seek discomfort, and it's always better to do stuff than to not do stuff. So that ended up being really profound for me. And the other piece of advice that I think about pretty much every day, especially when building this company. And it's something I heard on like a motivational speech compilation or some type of podcast. And the guy was basically saying, you don't want it to be easy, because if it was easy, it wouldn't feel so good once it works out and once you accomplish your goal. You want it to be as hard as possible. So when you get to that finish line and you finish the task, you get to the goal, you get that feeling of satisfaction. And I'm sure some of your listeners are on an entrepreneurial path, but it's not always glamorous, and it is, there's a day in, day out kind of grind that's associated with it. And on top of that, it's really stressful because you just never know, success is not guaranteed, and your product working isn't guaranteed. And there's times where you can kind of get in your own head and get down to yourself and lose sight. But my business partner and I always try to remind ourselves, when we're feeling a little down, like, this is the time that's going to make the success worth it. If you fast forward to whenever we think that we've done it, the company is where we want it to be, we're going to look back at the times where it was really tough and absolutely relish that. We don't want it to be a cakewalk. So I think embracing discomfort and embracing hard times with the recognition that the reward on the other side is going to be that much better is a really great way to live.
The best piece of advice was anonymous. I actually saw it. I think I saw it the first time as a meme on the social webs, and it was unattributed, but it was very impactful. It was, be compassionate toward everyone you meet. Everyone is going through something, and you have no idea what it is. And I try to keep this top of mind because it's easy to be out in the world interacting with people, right? We're in grocery stores, we're at work, or, and people are doing what they do, and they don't always show up as helpful or awesome, right? They're just showing up how they are. And it's easy to judge somebody about what they should and shouldn't be doing, what they should and shouldn't be saying. But I try to remind myself that I don't know what's going on in somebody's private life, and they could really be going through something big. And that's what's causing them to, not be very self aware, right? Or mindful of other people. And that if I can bring compassion, it also is going to help my own stress level, right? Because otherwise, I'm just going to get stressed out, and there could be a good reason, why they're showing up the way they do. So again, it's be compassionate towards everyone you meet, because everyone's going through something and you have no idea what it is.
Ooh. That was probably one of the hardest questions to answer, because there's so, I mean, I truly believe that people are in your life for a reason, either to give you advice or show you the way or all those things. And one thing that comes to mind, I would say the last 10 years, I believe you want to grow every aspect of your life. And I've also grown spiritually. And I think, to answer this question, one of the best advice someone has given to me actually was the big man upstairs. And he had said, "You can do all things through Jesus Christ who gives you strength." And to me, that was, and it could be whatever higher power you believe in, but to me, him saying that to me throughout the years, I felt like there was a kind of something, like a weight lifted off of my shoulders, because all my life I felt like I had to do everything myself. I had to make things happen. And to me, it was like stressful. All the struggles, I had to get out of it. I had to persevere. And so knowing that there's something else behind you, kind of like giving you power or giving you that strength, I felt like there was like some powerful force that, like, having that power, almost like a superhero. I always compare it to like superhero powers, able to guide and strengthen me through my entire journey. And I've used that through completing my first full Ironman. Like, when I compare it, like, mind you, over the years, I've been overweight and obese. I would be like 50 pounds overweight. And to do a full Ironman 2 years ago, and I'll probably have to share my whole fitness story, um, to be able to lose the 50 pounds and do a full Ironman, and now racing across the country on a bicycle in 7 days, and wanting to complete doing a marathon, achieving things that I honestly couldn't do by myself. And I think that was just given me kind of a whole new mindset. So yes, that was the biggest advice I think that I continue to use throughout my life.
Interestingly, it was from the current Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, who gave it to me back in 1992. When he was just a cricketer at the time, and he had recently led his team to win the World Cup. And I remember he wrote it for me. He told me it's his motto, and he wrote it next to his autograph in this tiny diary that I discovered in a safekeeping box in my parents' home this Christmas. And it read, "Nothing is impossible if you are prepared to work for it." And I think there's really something there, because, Imran Khan himself went on to build Asia's largest cancer hospital that treats nearly all its patients for free. And he formed this challenger political party in the country that he eventually led to power. So I think it's obviously worked for him on more than one occasion. And I think there's really something in that motto.
Yeah. So I think the advice is twofold. The first being it's sort of a statement rather than advice, and it was, "What have you done lately?" And that's a piece of advice that I got from my dad, and because when you're trying to do great things and you wanna do when you're trying to do anything, or achieve something or solve a problem, there's a temptation to you get a little bit of success or feel a little bit of accomplishment, and then you sort of lay back on that accomplishment and you feel good about it. And you're like, yeah, but then the world keeps going, and it really starts to become a case of, well, that's great that you did that, but what have you done lately? And so, really, I guess the advice cascades into the next piece, which is like, no one deserves anything, and you have to go out there and win it. And that was a piece of advice I got actually from our chairman, Eric Wilkinson at PyTop. Because when you're trying really hard, right, and you think that you've done great stuff lately, it can become frustrating when you feel like you want the company to be bigger, you want something in your personal life to happen, or you want to get something done, and you become frustrated because it hasn't, you haven't done what you wanted to do, or something hasn't happened the way that you want it to happen, and then you have to realize that actually there's no such thing as deserving anything. Actually, when you get it, then by virtue of you having it, you've now deserved it, right? But you can't get frustrated at the fact that you don't have it. You should just keep working to go and get it. And that's the best advice that I've gotten, and working the way that I have done, it's helped a lot to consistently put in effort all the time, because then you kind of become okay with the fact that it's a long process. Trying to achieve something really big is a very long process, and it's not just going to happen overnight.
Thanks for listening to the Learning on Fire podcast. For more information, please visit educationonfire.com and follow the links from the homepage. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire.